It's as good as I remember. How's it going, folks? I'm here to welcome you to your first ever edition of the 5-minute horror happy hour, which is a shorter version of my podcast that I'm just going to do alone when I don't have guests. And it's basically just me talking about some weird shit that happened in the news and having a beer with you. That doesn't mean that I'm going to finish the beer in 5 minutes, although I may. We'll see. But today I want to talk about this really weird thing that's happening in Oregon, which is they're finding these cows dead on these ranches, these really huge ranches, that and the cows have basically had their tongues or their genitals surgically removed, so much so that like not a drop of blood has been spilled, and scientists are baffled. So one hypothesis, aliens, which I'm not going to refute. Or who knows? It could be some sort of weird, sadistic vampire ghost. It could be some sort of telepathic, who knows? But before we get into that, let's crack our first beer here. So speaking of Oregon, this is actually one of my favorite beers of all time. Dawn of the Dead Red, very apropos for this podcast. It's by Ninkasi, and Ninkasi makes some really good beer, but none better, in my opinion, than Dawn of the Dead Red. What I love about it is it's a red IPA, and red IPAs are hard to find, especially good red IPAs. And this one in particular, I think, is a perfect balance of hoppiness and maltiness. So when you get a red IPA, you're going to have, the standard hoppiness that an IPA gives you, but the red is sort of like a red ale where it's going to counterbalance with a little bit of maltiness. So it's not mega hoppy, and it gives you this really nice flavor that I enjoy. And also, it's probably, I'm assuming it's named after Dawn of the Dead, which is one of my favorite horror films of all time. So that sort of helps. So anyway, cheers, folks. If you got Dawn of the Dead Red around, I'd say go enjoy it. Likely you don't, because it's pretty hard to find, unless you live in Eugene, Oregon, I would assume. But anyway, yeah, how weird is that? These cows are literally being found at these ranches, and apparently this has been happening since the 80s, sporadically. So either there is some weird shit going on with aliens out there, and literally some of the locals are like assuming that there is some sort of alien thing. They think that they're actually dropping these cows after they do some like surgical experiments on them, and they're dropping them from like this crazy height because they're saying that there's like this indentation. But scientists have done these examinations on these cows, and they're saying like there's no poison, there's no, they didn't get into anything. Obviously it wasn't an animal attack, because if there was an animal attack, it wouldn't be a surgical removal of their genitals and their tongue, and there would most certainly be blood and guts spilled all over the place. So the fact that these things have been surgically removed, and I don't mean to laugh because I feel bad for these cows. I don't know what the hell's going on. It seems absolutely crazy. It just seems like such a bizarre thing. And, as much as I would like to be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist here right now and say like, yeah, for sure, this seems like an alien thing. It could be. Who knows? I'm not ruling it out. But my theory, I got to tell you, is I think it might be the PETA people. Because one of the things that this story was saying, this news article that I was reading was saying, is that basically this is probably going to take hundreds of potential future cows out of the running, because it was a bull that was found recently. So this bull that would have been used for breeding and probably would have, I don't know what the term is, but given hundreds of specimens or samples for cows around the community, will no longer be able to do that. And so I don't know. Maybe it's some people who don't want to see us eating beef. Maybe they're saying one sacrifice instead of thousands. Just saying. That's my conspiracy theory for the day. However, again, some people are claiming that it's aliens, which seems odd because, boy, I mean, if aliens came, galaxies away and came across the universe and found us, and they thought that cows were more interesting than humans, I'd be a little bit offended, to be totally honest. It just seems like, boy, if you're going to come all the way here and you're going to torture someone, at least make it us. Like, let it be the humans. I feel like we're the most interesting ones around here. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But who knows? I mean, shit, it could be vampires. It could be Bigfoot. Isn't Bigfoot supposed to be like running around in the Pacific Northwest? Like out in the hills of Oregon? Maybe he has like some weird shit with cows and like maybe he cleans up after himself.Maybe there's no blood because he takes care of his business. He just wants the tongue and the genitals. Maybe he's got a fetish. I don't know. I'm not one to speculate about Bigfoot. But anyway, I've already gone over 5 minutes. So cheers, folks. Thanks for listening to the first 5-minute horror happy hour. If you're watching on YouTube, you get to see a little bit more of the Dawn of the Dead. Basically, you're just watching me drink beer and talk to you. Otherwise, if you're listening, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. This is my podcast.